Chords and Coffee, and today we are going to talk about the Lydian mode. Now hold on. I know some of you right now are going, I don't care about modes. I don't play that stuff. Well, friend, please stay tuned because there are some really, really easy and profoundly beautiful chord grips. I'm talking about, 2 notes, and they're going to sound gorgeous. Well, why would I ever want to use something like Lydian? Well, I'm going to tell you. Lydian is a beautiful, ethereal, kind of worshipful sound that's instantly atmospheric. I mean, just that when you hear chords like this that have that kind of built-in tension, but it's a different kind of tension. It's a tension that is, you can rest in it. And you can actually linger in it. And in fact, I'll tell you right now, pound for pound, the biggest return on investment for getting some Lydian chords and even this sound in your ears and in your hands is that a lot of times if you want to give a 1 chord or even a 4 chord, or if you just want to give a chord some breathing room and give it some space and try to elongate that moment, Lydian is a really great way to do that, and it sounds great too. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you some chords. You might be saying, where have I heard this before? Well, I mean, for me, the first place I heard it was the old Christopher Reeve Superman when he had the... Can you read my mind? Right? Him and Lois flying over Metropolis. Another place you might recognize that sound is on My Sherry Moore. Here it comes. Right? So that little moment there, that's a Lydian moment. There's lots of things, lots of different movies. I think Yoda's theme from all the Star Wars movies is a Lydian sound. And there are a lot of songs that use that. And so what I want to do is give you some chord grips. I want to give you some easy, open chord grips. I want to give you some movable chord grips. And then I want to briefly, ever so briefly, touch on the Lydian dominant sound. I know that sounds complicated, but again, this is actually something you've heard before. And at the end of Layla, there's that beautiful piano piece. There's a beautiful Lydian moment there. Now, the Lydian is a raised fourth, okay? So, as a for instance, if we're in the key of G, and I count up 4, 1, 2, 3, 4 in the major scale, okay? If I'm going to raise that fourth, I'm going to sharp that fourth, okay? Now, here's where it gets a little precarious because of music theory. And it's only precarious because sometimes you might see a symbol on a page and you just have to train yourself to realize what's happening here. And that symbol is, if you see a sharp 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, sharp, now C sharp is the exact same thing as a flat 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? So that C sharp is either a sharp 4 or flat 5. Why do I tell the C? Well, because when we get to the Lydian dominant, sometimes those are written down on the page as a dominant 7, flat 5 chord. We'll cross that bridge here in a second. But for now, I want to show you some beautiful Lydian chords. Let's start with this C shape here. Let me grab my page here just so I stay on track. And again, I'm just adding, in this case, I'm adding this F sharp. When you see like a C major 7 sharp 11 or even just a C Lydian thing, the Lydian is saying C is the 4th of what? Lydian's the 4th mode. And it's saying C, it's the 4th of what? It's the 4th of G. Okay, and if I play a G major scale over a C, that's that Lydian sound. Now, if I want to express that in a chord, I'm going to need some of those color tones. And F sharp, right, is that. This chord reminds me a little bit of Christopher Cross Sailing. I know he's using kind of an interesting tuning for that, but it kind of reminds me of that. So what is this? This is index finger on the 3rd fret of the A. This is going to be a ring finger on the 4th fret of the D. This is going to be an open G. And then this is going to be your middle finger on the 3rd fret of the B. And you can play the high E open too. So if you're playing a song where you're in the key of G and it starts on the C, and you really want to make that even prettier, or maybe you just want to have a moment in the song, maybe like in a bridge, or maybe the song comes to a spot where you want to let your other guitar playing friend have a moment to kind of solo, man. back to that G. Listen to how well that resolves. So let me give you some more of these Lydian shapes. Take that same shape there, and if you want to make that movable, all you got to do is now, instead of having your index finger on the 3rd fret of the A, let's go ahead and put our middle finger on the 3rd fret of the A, put your pinky on the 4th fret of the D, put your index finger on the 2nd fret of the G, and then put your ring finger on the 3rd fret of the B. Now this, you've got a C, you've got an F sharp, and now you've got an A in there and a D, and really, now that, I mean, the beans have come out of the crock pot at this point, because you know exactly what this is. Look at this. This is like a D chord, first inversion, because you got the F sharp on the bottom, which is another way to think about these chords. Lydian, you can think about it sharp 11, whatever, and you might go, man, Nate, that makes my brain hurt. Well, just think about it as the 5 chord over the 4. What's the 5 chord in the key of G? Well, it's D. That's the turnaround chord, right? That's the 5 chord. If I play that D over a C, that gives me that Lydian sound. Here's another way to think about it. This is an easy one, probably one of my favorite ones. This is a C, and so this is going to be middle finger on the 3rd fret of the A. I'm going to skip the D. Why? Well, just because it feels good to me. So I'm going to skip that. I've got an open G. I've got a ring finger here on the 3rd fret of the B. I've got my index finger on the 2nd fret of the high E. Sort of like playing the better part of the D chord over the C. Now, speaking of which, how about we just do this? Now just make a D chord, but this time I'm gonna have to use a bar on the 2nd fret of the G, the B, and the high E, and then I'm gonna put my ring finger on the 3rd fret of the B, and then I'm gonna take my middle finger and put it on the 3rd fret of the A, and I'm skipping the D just because the way these fingers are laying, it's just not gonna happen for me. Again, those are all Lydian sounds. So that's like a D over C kind of thing. Let's do one in A. This is really pretty. So I'm going to have my index finger on the 2nd fret of the D string. I'm going to have my ring finger on the 4th fret of the G. Pinky is on the 4th fret of the B, and then open E, and then open A, not playing the low E. And in that one, you can really kind of see like, well, man, that's almost like a B sus2 over an A. You would be correct. Almost, right? Now, speaking of which, how about we just do this? This is one of my favorites too. And this, especially on acoustic guitar, just sounds gorgeous. So you're gonna have, this is gonna be the same shape. I'm gonna slide it back and forth. I'm gonna have my ring finger on the 9th fret of the D, and then I'm gonna have my middle finger on the 8th fret of the G, and then open E, the high E, open B, and then an open A. And then slide this whole dude all the way down here to, now middle finger is going to be on the 6th fret of the G, and then ring finger is going to be on the 7th fret of the D. What if we did the same thing in D? That's actually starting to sound like something, right? Like a little song. So this is going to be, let's just use these 2 fingers here, ring and pinky. I'm going to have my ring on the 9th fret of the G. Pinky's going to be on the 9th fret of the B. I'm going to have an open E, an open D. I'm not going to play the E or the A. And then slide it back to the 7th fret. Well, if that works, wouldn't this work too over E? It sure would. So this is, again, think of this as like this is like an F sharp over E. It's actually F sharp sus4 because of that B over E to an E. How do we make that? Well, it's going to be middle finger on the 3rd fret of the G, okay? Ring finger on the 4th fret of the D. I'm not going to play the A string. I am going to play the low E, the high E, and the B. And the meat of my ring finger is just kind of going to mute that A string. Then slide this whole thing back to the 1st fret. So 1st fret with the middle, and then the ring on the 1st fret middle finger of the G string, and then on the D string, it's going to be my ring finger on the 2nd fret. That's pretty stuff. Now you might be saying, Nate, I don't play that kind of music. It's a little weird. It's a little flowery. It's a little soft. I hear you, but I think you'll be shocked at how often that comes up, and I'm going to give you something that does come up quite a bit. A lot of times, there'll be moments in a song where you are, I'm really proud of myself for not spilling any of that coffee. Jordan, do you see that? I'm getting better at this. Okay. A lot of times you'll be in a song where you might be sitting on the 4 chord, and you're going back to the 1, so, right? So let's say the 1's in D. And in this case, you might have a... that kind of thing. And again, this is another way to express this 5/4 idea. It's really beautiful, and there's a beautiful song by one of my favorite guitar players and worship leaders, this guy named Don Potter. It's called Show Me Your Face. And in that song, there's a moment where he has this little transition. It's basically this. And there's a lot of different ways to play it, but this is how I play it. So we're going to play a 1-finger G where you got your middle finger on the 3rd fret of the low E. Not going to play the A. The bend of my middle finger sort of mutes that. And I'm just focused on these open strings here, the D, the G, and the B, all open, not playing the high E. And then I'm going to put my index finger down on this A chord like this, okay? And that's going to be on the 2nd fret from the D, the G, and the B. Now here's where it gets a little stretchy. Now what I'm going to do here, and the reason I'm doing this is because of the voice leading as it's leading up. I'm going to put my middle finger on the 3rd fret of the B, my ring finger on the 4th fret of the G, pinky is going to be on the 5th fret of the D, and then index is going to be on the 3rd fret of the low E. Nate, that's kind of a clunky way to make a G. You're not wrong, but this is why. And this. Now this is a little stretchy, but the benefit of this is that you get this beautiful voice leading. This is still going to be index finger on the 3rd fret of the low E. Now pinky is going to come up to the 7th fret of the D. Ring is going to be on the 6th fret of the G, and then middle is going to be on the 5th fret of the B. It is literally as if, because it is, I just went from this G to this A major, all over G. So, and sometimes if you go, whoops, didn't mean to play that A, but it sounded good, all right? But you get it, right? It's kind of this wonderful sort of tension that feels like we're resolved. Nope, not quite. It's just some tension here. I love it. It's that Lydian sound. Steve Vai uses a lot. Derek Trucks. There's a little moment usually when they're getting ready to play Midnight in Harlem where they kind of sort of linger around in this kind of Lydian sound. At least when I saw them live, that's what they did. Here's a couple more, and then I want to move on to some Lydian dominant here. This is an F. It's one of my favorites. This is an F major 7, sharp 11. So I've got my index finger on the 1st fret of the low E. I'm not playing the A. I've got my ring finger on the 3rd fret of the D. Middle is on the 2nd fret of the G. Open B, open E. And then a couple schools of thought here. You can just close that with the bar and just lay that down, which is probably the easiest. And actually, I think recently somebody played me. No, it was on Saturday Night Live, maybe even a year ago. But this artist, Billie Eilish, was on there. And there's a song, I think it's called I Love You, and there's a moment in there which has this, let's see, no, it's not it. It's really pretty. That F major 7 sets that up so nice, right? Major 7 sharp 11. So that's just that B in there. And again, it's a major 7 sharp 11 because what it is I'm playing a C major scale over F, and invariably when you're playing a C major scale, you're going to have that B natural because it's the 7th in the C, right? Okay, let's keep going. Let's do 2 more. Couldn't leave this guy out. This is in Extreme. I think it's Wholehearted. Also, Pink Floyd has that. And then there's that part. Remembering games. days of change and laughs, right? That Lydian sounds right there too. So what do you have here? This is just a good old-fashioned D chord, and then you're just going to slide that up a whole step here. So you've got D here on the second fret of the G, rings on the third fret of the B, middle's on the second fret of the high E, and then just slide that whole sheboing up a whole step to where you have your index finger on the fourth fret of the G, rings on the fifth fret of the B, and then middle is on the fourth fret of the high E with the open D string. All right, one of my favorites, probably outside of the Superman thing, one of the first times I remember hearing this next sound and going, ugh. This is one of my favorite pieces of music of all time that I'm about to show you. I'm about to show you a little moment from it. If you want me to, I will do a whole lesson. I did a lesson on the end of Layla. That's what I'm going to show you in a second. But it was without the chord diagrams. It was sort of pre-chord diagrams. If you want a whole lesson on that, put in the comments section, yes, do the whole Layla, end of Layla piano outro lesson. We would love you for that. So you've got this. And then this moment. Now this one, I can feel like the music theory dimensional judges watching over all of YouTube going, yeah, that's a B flat 7 flat 5. And you're not wrong, because a flat 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So if in B flat, a flat 5 is going to be an F. If I flat it, it's going to be an E. And in this case, I'm playing a B dominant 7 with an E in it. However, it's also 1, 2, 3, 4. If I take this 4, which is an E flat, and I sharp it, it's an E natural. So it's the same thing. Why the confusion? Well, a lot of times the arguments, or even the reason we kind of get bent out of shape over music theory is that usually because of some notation, we've either painted ourselves in a corner, or we don't want to paint ourselves in a corner, and we want it to be clean to look at. We want the person who's looking at it for the first time to be able to play what the intentions of the composition are. And that's why people get bent out of shape over that, because they don't want them to play a chord that's voiced in a way that's like, no, I wanted that to be more pretty and ethereal. I didn't want that to be like, bluesy or darker and meaner sounding, right? And so that's why folks get bent out of shape over that. And I understand that, but it's also just good to know that chords are just a collection of notes, and the more notes you add to it, you can start to name it different things. And the best way to ensure that you're playing the right thing is just to ask, hey, does this sound cool, right? And to listen and ask. Probably listen first, okay? So let me give you a couple of different chord grips of these dominant 7 sharp 11s. This is Lydian dominant, another way to think about it. Here's this one here that I just did in B flat. This is going to be middle finger on the 6th fret of the low E. I'm skipping the A. Ring finger is going to be on the 6th fret of the D. Pinky's going to be on the 7th fret of the G, and then index finger is going to be on the 5th fret of the B. Here's another one. This one here. Oh man, I love this one. These are great to substitute for a minor 4, right? And for example, when we do oh yeah, that's such a pretty little grip. What is this? You're gonna have index finger on the 6th fret. This is an E flat 7 sharp 11, right? And so this is gonna be index finger on the 6th fret. I'm barring straight across from A to high E, okay? I'm gonna have my middle finger on the 8th fret of the D, a little stretchy, and then pinky is going to be on the 10th fret of the B. And if you just can't go, that rub just kills you and you want to resolve it, you can bring that ring finger down here to the 8th fret of the B. And then one more, if you haven't yet, check out the episode where we do the tune Nightlife. That right there. So this is like, think of this as an E flat 9, and I think even in this situation it would be probably charted as a flat 5, but it's the same thing. It's this Lydian dominant kind of sound again, because it's a dominant chord that has a sharp 11 or a flat 5 in it. What is this? This is going to be middle finger on the 6th fret of the A. I'm skipping the D. I'm going to have my pinky on the 6th fret of the G, ring finger on the 6th fret of the G. Pinky is also on the 6th fret, but it's the B, and then index finger is going to be on the 5th fret of the high E. Now, that's a lot of stuff. Actually, let me get this other page here real quick. Let me give you something that you can do if you like to make your own loops, or if you're writing, or even if you're just, jamming with a buddy. A neat sort of quick Lydian hack, or how to get into this mode. The thing that you're going to have to get your ear used to is that flat 5 or that sharp 4 sound. And what I would say is if it ever feels like, gosh, that just does not sound good, try playing it up an octave higher, right? Or just try, maybe just getting away, sometimes tonally, sometimes switching to the bridge pickup on your electric guitar is what's needed. You just need to kind of separate yourself a little bit from the chord itself, so that melody can kind of sit on top and dance around, right? Here's a really neat shape. And what's neat about this shape is this shape informs this little trick I'm about to show you here. So middle finger, let's go back to G major 7, sharp 11. Middle finger is going to be on the 3rd fret of the low E. Now I'm going to have my ring finger on the 4th fret of the D. Pinky is going to be on the 4th fret of the G. Index finger is going to bar on the B and the high E of the 2nd fret. What's neat about this shape? Well, if you want to solo and sound Lydian, even if the person's just playing a regular old G, if I play an F sharp minor pentatonic, so, and I play that over a G, listen to it. Right? Right there is where it gets a little precarious. But even then, because this happened, our ear was like, oh, okay, I see what's happening here. And then, if you actually play this grip that I just showed you, and you might just kind of stir around on that too, that F sharp pentatonic will sound really nice over that. Here's another one. This is a C, and this is the same kind of idea. I'm playing like a G major 7, or if you want to look at it as it's like a B minor chord over the C shape. What do I got here? I got an index finger on the 2nd fret of the high E. I'm going to have my ring finger on the 3rd fret of the B, and then my pinky on the 4th fret of the G, and then my middle finger is going to hit that C on the 3rd fret of the A. And again, so if you know your different pentatonic forms, and if you don't, comment below. We'll do a whole episode on that. And I think we actually have an episode on that, so I might direct you to that, but I'm happy to, hey, we will brew this coffee any which way you like it, all right? All right, so B minor here would be this guy. Right? Over that, or another way to look at it is the same thing I just did here. But what's nice about this is you can kind of see that other shape against that C chord too. So that's some really cool stuff. So here's my challenge for you. Next time you're playing, or even if you're like, Nate, I don't have anybody to play with at this point in my life, no problem. Just take one of these major 7, sharp 11, or one of these 5/4 shapes that you like, put it in a looper, or how about this? Like, I don't have a looper. Nate, I got an acoustic guitar. Do you have an iPhone? If you have an iPhone, go to your voice memos, or whatever kind of phone you got. Go to your voice memos and just record yourself playing a little bit, right? I bet you if you got on YouTube and you typed in Lydian jam or Lydian backing track, you could probably find something like that too. But experiment. Half of the battle is getting this sound familiar to your ear. Once that happens, you'll be able to play it confidently. And it's the kind of spice at the right time. Man, it just really lifts a song, or really lifts a moment, and allows it to kind of stretch out and linger. And, use it sparingly. I wouldn't go, just nuts with this, but it's the kind of thing that, you'll definitely sound like you know what you're doing, and more importantly, you'll help bring people together, because that's what music's all about. And that's what we do every Saturday morning on YouTube at 9 a.m. Central Time. If you haven't already, Lord have mercy, I hope you've hit the subscribe button. I hope you're sharing this video with your friends going, hey, come join the Chords and Coffee community. Why? Because we're living life the best we can with a guitar in our hand. And I sure do appreciate y'all. Leave your comments below. Give me your ideas. I need more ideas for these things. It's fun to do, but sometimes I'm like, what should we do next? That's up to you. I appreciate y'all. Have a great Saturday. We'll see you soon.